one of the new tunes I sort of had to work something out. One
Which
of
one?
Allergies is the name
Right.
of it. Because there was two drummers playing on it on the album. Steve Gadd was playing the beat that was happening underneath Simmons fills that Steve Ferrone had done.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there was like two parts going on, so I sort of had to take, you know, the main ingredients of both and try to come up with a groove off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was challenging because I'm ending up playing like a left-hand hi-hat part and Simmons fills with the right hand, you know, so it's while keeping the groove happening underneath. So that was I had to work a few things out that way. Not really though. It was all the stuff that I'm learning from Gary.
Yeah, really.
It's like you know, you have to do something left-handed anymore. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
He's, you know, I've went through a couple of retarded stages with him that I feel.
What was that was one of my questions. What do you think it was? You studied him with now, going on 8 months. Are you still studying with him, or is that?
I'm still off and on.
Occasionally?
I am now, and I plan to go back with him full time when I get back.
So you're with him about 7 months? On and off?
Yeah.
So what do you think was the difference between you when you first went to him and then 7 months down the pike? How had you changed?
Concentration level had changed. It had gone up considerably just as to what I was actually playing.
Yeah.
Making, you know, actually hearing what I was actually playing instead of letting a little ghost note here and there go in, or, you know, he was very conscious about what every note that I'm playing.
You jump on your case too, right?
Well, like I said, every time I walked in there, I felt retarded because he would come up with a different system every week, and I'd come back with it, and I'd be sitting, you know, I'd go home and practice it, and try to get it down, you know, got it down cooking, you know, it was great. I'd come back the next week, and he'd tell me to do something else with it that I hadn't practiced, like sing something else against this pattern.
Right.
And make me feel retarded all over again. So it was great though. It was all his lessons are such a challenge.
He told me he had a student that introduced you to him.
Right.
And that he had a bet, like the guy had a dinner bet with Gary. He said, I've got this friend of mine, Dave Weckl, and I'll bet you that he can play anything you can throw at him.
That had to be John.
Did you know that?
Had to be John.
And so Gary said to him, no way. So Gary said, I'll bet you dinner. So
Right.
what you remember, the first time you got with him, what did you
Well, my whole attitude for going up there was, because I had no idea what Gary was into teaching-wise.
You didn't?
I didn't know what he was doing, you know. So and this friend of mine, John, had said, well, you know, you should go and talk to Gary, man, because, you know, I was getting impatient. I wanted to, like, start doing something. And at that period of time, the French toast thing, none of that was happening.
Yeah.
This was like January. And so I was getting impatient, man. I was spending a lot of time practicing and saying, look, I know I can do some things if I could just get an opportunity, you know.
Right.
And so I said, well, you know, John said, well, you should go and talk to Gary, man, because he's got so many connections and he could help you out, get you into the studio thing, you know. And so I was saying, well, I don't want to just approach him by saying, you know, hey, look, you know, I want, you know, can you turn me on to some studio work, you know?
Right.
I can play, hey, you know.
Yeah.
So, talking to him on the phone, you know, he said, you know, I was just interested in maybe taking a couple lessons to see what it was all about. And he said, well, you know, you can't, what I'm going to teach you really, I can't do in a couple lessons. You know, you either, you know, come study with me on a steady basis, you know, or it, you know, doesn't happen that way.
Right.
So I agreed. I wanted to find out what was going on. So I went up there with the attitude saying, well, I'll go to him, and if there's, you know, if I can play, if I can do whatever he wants me to do, you know, after a few lessons, I want to talk to him about, you know, some studio work.
Yeah.
And I said, and if I can learn something from him, great.
Yeah.
I walked in there, man, and by the time I was done, I felt like I was starting over.
Really?
First lesson, yeah.
Yeah.
Felt like I was starting over. I was embarrassed at that. I really was.
Yeah.
I just, any idea of me even talking to him about wanting to do anything just went right out the window after the first 10 minutes.
Really?
Because he was laying this stuff on me that had to do with hand and eye coordination. You know,
Hand and
reading
eye?
well, yeah, fist and eye. No.
Yeah.
Actually reading something and having the coordination to play it. And, like for instance, what he does, one of his systems is keeping a consistent bass pattern, keeping a consistent hi-hat pattern.
Right.
And then there's a snare drum line to read in between it. Okay, and on top of this, you sing like the quarter note. You sing what you're doing with the bass drum. After that, then you sing what you're playing with the snare drum. You do this like right hand, left hand, and then he comes up with all these other ways to play the bass line, like playing the bass line on the snare drum, playing all the rest of the 16ths on the hi. It gets nuts, and you're still singing all this stuff.
Right.
And that's only one of the that's one of the things he does.
Yeah.
The coordination thing is unbelievable because you actually have 5 coordination things going when you're singing something against it. So that's where it really becomes, that helped me out on my time so much too. Not that I had terrible time before that, but just it made me concentrate on that much more. I could actually feel and sing the quarter note to myself, find out, or sing the 8th note or whatever, to help me really concentrate on what was going on. And if you're able to do that and play against it, play anything against it, or actually sing the bass line while you're playing it to try to find out where the pocket is. Unbelievable how much it helps. It helps lock it in so much more.
So this is a very valid system in this stuff, Gary. It wasn't just,
Oh yeah, it's it enables you to take a line, to take something you hear in the music, and what you're striving for from all this is to be able to play it any way, and not, or have, so say for instance a producer or something comes up to you and says, well, I'd like you to play this, this type of thing, and the idea is to be able to say, okay, and do it, not have to sit down there and work it out for an hour and figure out what you're going to play, and a lot of people get hung up on the reading thing, like they say, wow, well, I just can't read that well, and a lot of the times it's not, they can read rhythms, they can read rhythms fine. A lot of it is having the coordination to play what, fit those rhythms in amongst, along with the beat,
right?
And try to make it all groove and try to make the music all happen. That's one thing it made me really realize was it's a coordination thing. Your mind has to work a certain. You got to be able to see that whole thing. You got to be able to see the beat, as you're playing.
Did he, after a while, start talking about the music business too?
Oh yeah, he would any question I would ever have about the business of any kind, he would always answer it for me and try to direct me in a way that he thought was good from the mistakes he had made.
Right.
And not that he had made mistakes, but I mean there were a few things that he had told me that he had to do it over again. He would have done it different. He would have done some little aspects here and there, money management or whatever. Just anything about the business.
You teach about money management?
Well, it's one of the aspects that we talk about. One of the little things, About,
what did he say, like to do that?
Well, we really haven't gotten into any of the things, but he's, he definitely has some things that he wants to talk to me about as far as what to do with your money as you make money.
Yeah.
And I never was into spending it foolishly.